Hello there, I'm Dominic St-Pierre. You're listening to Go Podcast. So today I wanted to tell a story. Something happened that I think is kind of interesting, and so far, everyone that I've been telling this story to is kind of puzzled about it. So we will see. But before we begin, I fully launched my new course, which is called Build a Google Analytics in Go. Basically, this is a course where we are building a fully functional website analytics with multiple technologies. There's Go, of course, TypeScript, Docker, Postgres, ClickHouse. If you haven't used ClickHouse, this is a very, very nice column database that is really good for this kind of use case. Everything that needs to have somewhat of a analytics type queries, so anything that you want to ask a question to a database, for example, it's nice for that. So there's a 50% off coupon on the description of this on the show notes of the podcast. So if you want to support the show, this is the way to go. I don't have anything else. I'm just selling those courses. Enough with that. So last week, at the beginning of January, at least, one of my consulting clients reached out and told me something like, well, that's in their words. So they were trying to describe what they think was the problem. You know how non-technical person may be. So they say something like, well, since 2024, there's no stamping of the current date for some fields. So it was like, and there was a screenshot in an email that they sent me, and what I saw was kind of the UI of the application, and an empty date. A zero value date. So a time.time type in Go that was displayed in a template, but directly as an empty value. So it was not the January 1st of 000 of the year and things like that. It was like December 31st at something like 7 p.m. whatever. Still very, very strange. So I started to investigate. At first, I did not really thought of the template itself. I thought like, well, okay, something seems to be wrong. Maybe the date time is, I don't know. There's something very strange. So first of all, let's create some context around this story. So this application is a fairly simple Go web application. You can think of it as a monolithic style web application with some templates that renders straight HTML. So basically, it's not a huge application, but it's not very small as well. So it's decently sized, I would say. So there's some router that pick the route and fetch some data on the database and render a template. A typical, I would say, somewhat CRUD application, if you will. So this application was released. I've published it in 2018 actually. So October of 2018 was really the launch date of this application, and since that time, well, as you might imagine, the application has been recompiled multiple times per year, but not that much. But for sure, it has been rebuilt in 2023. That is a certainty. I don't have any date, but I'm sure about that. So that's the context. So the first thing I did, well, of course, let's try to to have this locally on my machine. I want to see that, in development. So that's always a good first step. I mean, there's obviously no unit test for that. There's nothing like that. There's no test I can run because it's very strange error when you think about that. So suffice to say that I'm loading this application locally now. So all right, downloading the database locally and executing everything like that. So it's not a project that I'm using very often. So I mean, and yes, to my extremely big surprise, the dates are displaying empty values where they should be displaying two dashes, if you will. So the way it worked is, how you can do some if statement on templates on zero values type in Go. So basically, let's say you have an int on a structure, and if you don't set any value to that int field, it will have its zero value, which in case of int it's exactly zero. So in templates you can do like if dot field name, for example, if the field is called field name, if it's and you can have an else as well. If the field is a zero value, it will enter into your else block. So I did that for time.time as well. But now it's not displaying my two dashes. So you can imagine I have something like if in a template dot, field name, whatever, which is a time.time, and an else block. And in the else block, I just displayed two dashes. And in the if, when it's supposed to have a value, I'm displaying the value itself. So, I mean, nothing's changed. I mean, let's be clear about everything. So this application, granted, it was it has been rebuilt in 2023, but it would be probably somewhere like March or April of 2023. The point is, no changes to this application occur in a long time in 2023. No changes to the template, no changes to the underlying server. So again, it's a simple deployment. There's basically 3 instances with a load balancer in front of that. So the instances are basically just running the Go server directly. The load balancer is taking care of dispatching the traffic and whatnot. So that is the situation. So what's going on? So I said, well, let's first have a look into the database. What is the value exactly in the database for this field? And it was exactly the time zero value, as you might imagine. So year 0, whatever, January 1st, everything at 0. So I mean, at this point, I'm extremely puzzled. I just don't understand, and it has been a long time since I have not felt that feeling of not understanding what's going on. So usually in Go, I would say it's pretty rare that in my experience, at least, that I've experienced that. Something like when I was doing .NET, for example, and a couple of other languages as well. Sometimes you kind of have to fight the either the runtime or the standard library itself, or any a framework maybe, and things like that. It's not like that in Go. In Go, I mean, it's just straightforward, to the point, simple. This is supposed to be like that. And now I'm faced with what? Why my effing F block is now not entering into this empty value at the moment. So I did what every programmers will probably do when they are faced to a wall like that, and let's print let's print the value on the template. I mean, what can I do? And it was printing. It was printing the empty value. So at this point, you know, I say, you know what, let's just create a main.go, you know, separately from all of this project. I just want to see that from my own eyes and make sure that I'm not missing something that would be related to the project or anything like that. So I created a simple program, imported the HTML template, just have a very, very simple template where I'm going to pass an empty value for a time. So I did something like, you know, var t time.time, so it's empty. I passed that to the execute function of my template, and in my template I only have the if statement that I'm talking about, which I want to remember you worked since 2018. And I execute the template, I execute my program, and yes, I mean, it's now entering the if statement. So the empty value of the time.time is now entering the if dot, you know, field name. So an empty value is returning true on this if and telling the renderer, you know what, I do have a value, which does not make sense at all. But worse than that, why it worked in 2023. I mean, that client have customers, they have employees, they have workers, you know, lots of people worked on that same application like in December 2023. Why suddenly this thing is not working? And again, let me re-stress and rephrase that. I haven't rebuilt the application. The servers did not change. There was no update whatsoever. Nothing changed. This application stayed in production as normal. So I told myself at this point, well, I mean, this is an issue. This is a bug. I mean, I cannot believe that it's not a bug. I opened the ticket on the Go GitHub issues tracker, you know, trying to explain this exact situation as clearly as possible. I believe I wasn't clear enough. I believe I have failed at explaining the situation exactly, because I was replied with something like, yeah, it's like that since a long time, and the issue was closed. Yeah, so probably on my part, a misunderstanding, I don't know, but I now did the next you know, logical thing to do, which is let's see what it is all about. So I downloaded the Go source code, went into the HTML template package. Now I noticed that, well, okay, lots of the thing that we have there is coming from the text template itself. So I've noticed that, yes, you know, the default value when you do a if on you know, primitive types is pretty much straightforward. But when you do have more complicated types, it tried to revert to reflection, you know, with the reflect package and whatnot. And now it's trying to see if it's nil and things like that. I honestly don't have an intelligent answer for this, and it's killing me, to be frank. I haven't found anything other than, you know, yes, there is an is zero function on the time.time, which you can use on your template to check if the value is 0. And now if you do that on an if, you know, you can check if it's 0, and now the else become what I was having in my if block before. So the else is when there's a value. But again, my main point with all that, which I think was not understood on my GitHub issue, is why this thing was working on December 2023, and since 2024, the if statement enters the block when the time have an empty value. So still at this day, this is a puzzle. Maybe there's someone in this podcast audience that might know the answer. If you do, man, I mean, please reach out to me. This is I don't know. I don't like to not understand things, and especially like that. The worst part for me is I don't like to have changing behavior in my production application. This is the first time that I have a situation like that where a production application that I've built in Go suddenly change its behavior in production. I haven't seen that in more than 10 years, whatever, 11 years that I'm doing Go now. 10 years. So, it's not like I'm losing confidence in Go and whatnot. I just, clearly there's an explanation for that. I don't have it, and it's killing me at the moment. So yes, I mean, if you know it, please reach out. And otherwise, that was a story of me trying to live debug something in kind of an urgency, because I mean, at this point, people came back from holidays. There's end user customers that are using this thing, and there's employees and whatnot. And now all of a sudden, all the dates that was supposed to be, hidden in a sense. So let's say, completed date and all of those dates that, we don't want to show. So I'm not using a nil or a null column in the database. I was using the freaking empty values, the zero values, because, that's what a Go developers should use. They are there. It's the reason that they are there, and we can do this kind of things. But for some reason, since 2024, that time isn't seen as an empty value. And yes, before we close up, the worst thing as well is that I tried my exact code on the playground, which is, its execution date, or at least I think the server date and whatnot is 2009 and things like that. But it might not have any impact on the system time. I don't know what it is, to be frank. This is very, very strange. So the bottom line is that the playground was also behaving exactly like my test project, in a sense. So an empty value would enter into the if, where, well, I have a living product that ran into production for 5 years plus, and as soon as 2024 changed, boom, this if now, this empty value now enter into this if block. This just makes no sense. And yeah, I mean, Go is not supposed to be like that. I feel really bad about that. But again, I mean, this is a small story. I hope it was kind of interesting to hear and whatnot. So again, see you next week.